Hi Stacy. I watched your CC3 and one sec, let me get my notes a little bit closer. Yeah, overall great work. That's awesome, and that was your first session. Really, really cool. Again, you know, your experience and your confidence is very evident, and I love that. You know, good goals. Good job noticing the warming up helped. Yeah, if mom's ready, you know, because he's so new to the letterboards, just say that it's best for you to kind of have a few more sessions, and then at the end of each session you can coach her for about 10 or 15 minutes and suggest working at home 10-15 minutes every day, every other day. You know, whenever I tell parents, I always stress, you know, don't make it a chore. Some people prefer to read the newspaper with their kids and make up fill in the blanks or spells, or some people read the Bible or magazines or TED Talks. You can get the transcripts. So anything that'll make it fun and engaging for both the parent and the speller. But yeah, just let her know that after a couple more times, you'll coach her, because you never want to start too many CRPs at once, and especially with mom, that's a very emotional one. I do feel that you're totally ready to coach. I mean, you know enough, you've seen enough, you have spellers. So yeah, I guess maybe just wait one more session and then pop her on at the end for 10 minutes. I don't know. I might have to rewatch the video. I don't really remember you asking an open. I'll have to look. But yeah, typically, you know, it's a very specific progression for a reason. So I wouldn't advise doing that on the first session unless, you know, he's spelled with a lot of other people, he's super open, very, very minimal mispokes. But normally, you know, he was doing great on the 3s, got the 26, awesome. But then do greens, semi-opens, minimal prompts with semi-opens, and then the next step would be answering greens or oranges in complete sentences, and then you can ask them more of a tight open instead of a super duper open. You know, slow and steady wins the race. One of the worst things you can do in this field and practice and building that relationship and trust is pushing too far too fast. But again, with all that said, you're very different in an amazing way because you do have so much experience. But yeah, before you would do some opens, I would have made sure that he was doing complete sentences and very minimal prompting. Yeah, the Dawn Marie, when she shares a pencil, yeah, that's one thing I always say, whether or not I'm in a group or just with anybody. Some people, you know, end up letting the speller hold the pencil for quite a while they're reading, but I always prompt them to put the pencil down, or I'll use it to write my stuff. And then that motion, or that, even if you hand the pencil to them, that's kind of an initiation in its own. So you never want them just kind of sitting there with the pencil ready to go. It should just be picked up to spell and placed back down when you're done. And yeah, I think I just answered all those questions. And then let me look at my notes. Loved your intro, loved how you're talking to him, you know, totally presuming competence. Remember, it's tough, we all do it, I did it, I still do it sometimes. I don't say no in particular, but I might say or, you know, but just rewatch that video, be a little more self-aware. There were a couple times you said no when he misspoke, but you know, again, you know this, they know where they want to go. So instead of saying wrong one or no, which just comes naturally, everybody does it, I promise. Just keep prompting him, or if he does a few mispokes, you know, reset it and then get those eyes ready, get the hand up and go. And awesome prompting. Remember when he is poking, saying say he's spelling the word letters and he's on that second E, and you might have needed a reset or whatever. Instead of saying, okay, you have L-E-T-T, next letter, just say either last letter was T and then, or just say, all right, got it, you had half the word, next letter. You never have to repeat what he already poked. After he spelled thought pretty early on with very minimal mispokes, one of his spell words, I would have just moved on to green since he was doing little to no mispoking. Be really conscious of that pencil grip. There were a few times that I don't have a pencil nearby. This is a portable charger. So say this is a pencil. There were a few times I think he was kind of holding it like this or whatever, or wonky wrist, but you always want to just keep fixing it. So he's holding it right like that, almost like he was to write. There's about an inch or two, and then that will promote the most accuracy. Also too, I mean, he was doing good with it, but typically greens are just like 1 or 2 word answers. Even if it's a lesson that you didn't write and you're just using, which just stick with using the I Ask lessons. Sometimes if it is like the whale didn't want to eat, then I would, you know, say the question, or why didn't the whale eat? And the answer is the whale didn't want to eat. Instead of, I would modify and just say, okay, while we're working on greens and fading our prompts, the answer is the whale didn't want to what? And just keep it to 1 or 2 words. Also too, he was doing really good with those multiple word answers, but typically after, you know, 3 words or so, I'll take a break. Or not take a break, but I'll put the board down and I'll say, oh, let me write what you have so far, and then we'll keep going, because it's just a good break for him, good break for you. And yeah. And then, yeah, I mean, after 12 minutes, he was barely mispoking, so I would definitely try the 26, but just know that when you do go to the 26, introducing new motor, which means start with a few spells. If that's looking good with minimal prompts, nice and slow too, because sometimes those spells are just so built in that when they're going really fast, you think it's really good, but in reality, that super duper fast poking is unreliable, and those slow and steady pokes are purposeful. So if he is doing really fast spell words, and just be like, all right, let's go to green, and then you might have to prompt a little bit heavier and then fade those prompts accordingly. And even when you do go to the 26, it's not a definite, this is where we're at now, we're only doing 26. You know, you can easily say, we're just gonna feel this one out, we'll do a green on this, and if he's super all over the place, then just be like, okay, give me the first 2 letters, and then we'll go to the 3s, and if he's back on track, you know, finds his center, no mispokes, then say, okay, how about the last letter on the 26? So when you do transition up, it's still weeble wobble of, you can bounce down as necessary, and just let him know it's totally normal and fine, and the goal is to build these strong pathways and for him to be in control and, you know, promote success. So great work. Let me know if you have questions.